Okay, if I could. Yeah. Please. Thank you. Well, Prime Minister, Mark, you're very welcome here at Downing Street. It's fantastic to have this opportunity to have you here so early on in your tenure. And the relationship between our two countries has always been strong. Two sovereign allies, so much in common, shared history, shared values, shared king, and all the work we do in the Commonwealth together. And of course, you know the United Kingdom very well from your time here, and if I may say so, using that time to help protect us against some of the economic chaos of the Conservatives in your time at the Bank of England. So you know us well, and of course you are the G7 host
Yes.
this year, which is an incredible time to be leading the G7. And we have a very important summit in June when we'll be over in Canada. Much looking forward to that. Can I also say thank you for your approach to Ukraine. It doesn't surprise me that our two countries see this through similar lens with the same objectives. And thank you very much for joining the call that we held on Saturday, the Coalition of the Willing, which is driving the momentum to ensure that if there is a deal, that it's a deal that is defended. And of course, economically, there are great ties between our two countries. So it's very, very good to be able to welcome you here as an ally, a friend, and two countries with a very, very strong camaraderie, support for each other, and history and future.
Future, absolutely. Well, thank you, Keir. Merci beaucoup pour cet accueil. We have a remarkable history, as you said, between our countries, and it is remarkable because it's built on shared values. And we're at a point in history where the world is being reordered. And your leadership, the leadership of the UK, I'll use the example of the Ukraine, where what you've been able to do with President Macron to bring together a coalition of the willing at a crucial time, I think can be decisive and must be decisive in coming to a lasting solution there. As well, commercially, we are amongst each other's largest trading partners, largest investors. And this is a moment, whether it's in AI, whether it's in clean energy, life sciences, our two economies are headed in the same direction, and our partnership can only deepen. And if I may add one other, which is particularly in these days, our security cooperation, which is seamless, is essential. So the partnership is strong, and it will continue to grow at a time where, including through the G7, we can help reshape the world.
Great, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
London. In a display of diplomatic solidarity and shared vision, former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney paid a significant visit to Downing Street this week, meeting with Labour leader Keir Starmer. The meeting not only underscored the enduring historical ties between the United Kingdom and Canada, but also signaled a renewed focus on cooperative efforts to confront pressing global challenges. Carney, a Canadian national who has long been a key figure on the international economic stage, joined Starmer in reaffirming the strong transatlantic partnership that has withstood the test of time. The leaders emphasized their joint commitment to supporting Ukraine amidst ongoing Russian aggression, a stance that has become emblematic of the broader coalition of Western allies rallying behind Kyiv. This is a critical moment for democratic nations, Starmer said following the meeting. The UK's deep-rooted relationship with Canada, grounded in shared values, history, and economic cooperation, positions us to lead together on the world stage. Carney echoed the sentiment, stressing not only the moral imperative of backing Ukraine, but also the necessity of reinforcing global financial stability. The economic challenges ahead, From rebuilding Ukraine to addressing climate change, demand close collaboration between allies like the UK and Canada, Carney remarked. The historical context of UK-Canada relations, marked by Commonwealth ties, joint military endeavours, and strong trade relations, adds weight to the diplomatic dialogue. Yet, in the modern era, their collaboration is expanding beyond traditional arenas. Economic resilience, green finance initiatives, and joint leadership on geopolitical crises are shaping a new chapter of bilateral partnership. Nowhere is this more visible than in their united front on Ukraine. Both nations have contributed significantly to humanitarian aid and military assistance, presenting a model of leadership within the broader NATO and G7 frameworks. Political observers note that this unwavering alliance not only bolsters Ukraine's resistance, but also sends a clear message to authoritarian regimes worldwide. As global dynamics shift and new challenges emerge, the UK's close relationships with its historical allies are proving instrumental in crafting sustainable long-term solutions. Carney's visit to Downing Street, while steeped in symbolism, reflects a practical and forward-looking strategy rooted in decades of trust and cooperation. With the world watching, the EU-Canada partnership stands as a testament to the enduring power of alliances grounded in shared values, and the vital role they play in shaping a stable, just international order.
That in one neighbourhood in Leicestershire, 43% of people who live there don't speak any English. And so we've been discussing, do you actually need to speak English to live in England? I think we've both concluded, no, you don't, and that's a problem.
You don't, and I don't think there's an incentive to do so. But I do think it's a generational shift. I think there would have been a time where people would have made an effort to go, when they're in a different country, to learn a bit of the language, and I don't think that's there anymore. I think the attitudes have changed, and I think that goes hand in hand with a slightly more selfish attitude of younger generations who can well, why should I?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I think as well, modern technology means that you can get away with not speaking a language and you don't feel alienated or isolated. You know, you can move to Britain, and if you're from, like, say, Sudan, and your next door neighbour's from Sudan, and your mate Jamal's from Sudan, and you can message him, and you can watch Sudanese TV, and you can speak to your friends back home in Sudan, then fine, you don't need to integrate. Whereas if you roll the clock back 40 years and you came from Sudan and you don't speak English, the only way to communicate with people back home is sending a letter, and 2 months later you might get the reply. And so I think that's also enabled people to essentially sort of live in isolated microcosms of their own design.
Yeah, and roll into that, and again, this brings us back to human nature and psychology a little bit. You end up, when people come to this country, let's say you're a guy who's come from, I don't know, Sudan, you're more likely to settle somewhere in a city where there are other Sudanese people, right? So you then create that community. So again, there's not that need, when you also add to it the technology point that you've made, there's not that need to have to integrate or to learn the language of that country.
And people actually don't just sort of not bother integrating or not bother learning the language. They actually bring all the politics and the beef and the, all the sort of bad stuff. So you've got in parts of Leicester running street battles between Hindus and Muslims. You've also got parts of the country where when people go and campaign to be on the local Labour Council, they're wearing the rosette of the political party back at home in Pakistan.
Yeah, you've got that.
I like Imran Khan, vote for me to be on Oldham Council, or something like that.
And also, we have to get into the very challenging and difficult conversation at times, which is the clash of cultures, because what you can see happening is predominantly young men coming from other countries where the views on women are pretty low, the rights of women are pretty low, and they come to this country and they think it's all right to leer at a 13-year-old walking down the street. Yeah. Well, we don't think that's acceptable. No woman should have to, or young girl should have to be subjected to that. And so that's when the clash of cultures happens, and that happens because there is no integration.